The college football experience, Kansas State Wildcats 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special your first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. Yes, they do have college football action. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their college football product is about to drop. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Welcome to the college football experience. Kansas State Wildcats 2024 season preview episode. Excited to talk about one of my favorite teams year in, year out, the Kansas State Wildcats. YouTube.com/the college experience as we continue on this journey to break down all 134 college football teams. Well, like we do every year, but this year it is 134 because Kennesaw State. Yes, we have an hour dedicated to every single team. So hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swigga, Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Pretend it never happened and get along with your life. That's like the Rod Prince era at Kansas State. You remember when they went out for like Snyder retired and they're like, we're gonna go get Rod Prince from UVA.
It's amazing how bad some K-State years have been, and then how good they've been under some coaches too. Big variance.
Yes, folks. You're wondering who the hell that is talking. That is my co-host. Give it up for the DFS god himself. Yes, we will have DFS episodes flying off the shelves when the football season gets closer. We're going to have some best ball drafts too. We got college football best ball action. Yes, give it up for the Rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, Tobacco Road living, the free lot giving, farmer, earned the Best Ball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
You're at a friggin' hotel and outside of, as Al Michaels used to say, Baltimore. How you doing, buddy?
Baltimore?
You ever heard Al Michaels say he's on the call for a Baltimore Ravens game? He's like, in Baltimore.
That doesn't ring a bell. I'll have to take your word for it. But yeah, I come up here fairly often. So yes, I am in a hotel, but it doesn't matter because the show must go on, and we got Kansas State football to talk about. Let's go, man.
Yeah, you got to think about this here for a second. Kansas State Wildcat football. Who benefits the most from no more Oklahoma, no more Texas? Well, it's pretty long sample size here of I think some would say Oklahoma State, but I think you could make the argument. What's that?
I said they're in the mix. They're They're right there.
But I think Kansas State's been better for longer.
Yeah,
So,
a bit more consistent, other than those Prince years that you were talking about earlier. But that was a while ago. So yes, I would agree. I think Oklahoma State is prone to a bit more swings.
yeah, and so you're sitting there saying, "Hey, wait, playoffs, playoffs, and the opportunity." This is why a 12 team. This is I can't believe it took this long for us to explain the playoffs, but or have a. Even 12 is too short for me, but it's still okay. I can't believe we finally got here. But I think like if you're a Kansas State fan, why not us most years? You know what I mean? They got to be thinking that, especially in this new conference. So excited, really excited to break down this episode and excited for the future of Kansas State football. So I almost said basketball there. I just did a college basketball show about an hour and a half ago. So check out the college basketball experience, folks. Yeah, look, folks, before we dive into it, I want to tell you that the Kansas State Wildcats 2024 season preview is brought to you by us, yes, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Make sure to check out this week's featured podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, giving you all the picks you need to crush the MLB season, the rest of the MLB season, and hit a few dingers off into the postseason. Plus, the college football experience is knee deep in 134 team previews. Hey, that's our show. Yeah, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. All right, jumping into this. Where are you at with Chris Klieman, NC Nick? What do you think of old Chris Klieman?
Well, first off, before we touch on him, I mean, yes, Kansas State fans should be very excited for the chance to make a larger playoff, because if this larger playoff was in place in 2022, just 2 years ago, they would have been in the playoffs. Them and TCU, because they beat TCU in the Big 12 championship game, they both would have been in it. So, hell, this year, Kansas State has a very good chance as one of the top teams in the Big 12 to make the playoffs. So, yes, I completely agree. They should be very excited for this year and, moving forward.
Yeah, and I think they might have got in 14. They definitely would have got in 2012 and 2011. So you would have had some. They were 10-2 regular season in 2011, 11-2, or 11-1 in 2012. Lost the bowl game, so they would have got in both those years as well had we had this. That is why it's exciting, I would say. And the fact, can you imagine hosting a playoff game at Bill Snyder Stadium there in the Little Apple? Are you kidding me?
Yes. They talk about a home field advantage. They certainly have one there, and for the playoffs, it would be freaking insane. But to answer your question there a minute or two ago, I mean, how can you not like what Chris Klieman is doing? I mean, first off, what he did at North Dakota State, and then in his going into his 6th year at Kansas State? He's done a fantastic job. He's elevated the program. And now they're in a position where they're going to be one of the favorites to win the conference pretty much every year.
Yeah. And I mean, he's 111-37 in 11 years as being a head coach. He's 39-24 at Kansas State, but the COVID year was such nonsense for them. I almost feel like you should throw out the COVID year, and his record's even better. Now, he was 0-5 against Texas, right? They're gone. Right, he is
so close in a couple of those games, like last year.
Should have beat him last year. They were better than them last year. 1-4 against Oklahoma State, 2-3 against Baylor and Iowa State. But like I said, some of that is that COVID season where they had to play. Do you remember that? They're like, it's a big part of our economy. Yeah, we have 40 guys out. We're still playing. So that really, I think, kind of waters down some of these records. But he is 3-1 against Oklahoma. I almost won Oklahoma to stay in the conference, and that one loss was by, I think, 6 points in Norman. So love that he's there. He's 5-0 against Texas Tech. Watch out, Red Raiders. 2-2 against West Virginia. 5-0 against Kansas. Take that, rivals. I got your Sunflower Showdown for you right here. All right, 5-1 against TCU, and 2-0 against the Big 12 newcomers from a season ago. Pretty damn good, right?
Hey, very impressive, especially the Oklahoma record. Look, it's not like Kansas State gets the most talent into the Little Apple. For example, recruiting the last 3 years, they've ranked just in the conference. This year, 11th in the conference. Last year it was 5th. The year before that, it was 9th. So they know how to identify talent. They know how to build up players in their system. Player development is huge, and that goes back directly on the coaching staff.
Yeah. Shout out to Cracky, the cocaine bear in the chat. He goes, did Oklahoma leave the Big 12 to duck Kansas State? The streets are asking. Yes.
Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, this program has been pretty fire. Now, this is the part of the segment where I shit on each program that we talk about. The worst loss. It's gonna be one of those Prince years or one of the years where Snyder just jumped back. Here we go. They took an L to see the Prince years were like, I feel like Rutgers, Fresno State, Louisiana. But there's still a couple. All of them are relatively close, with the exception of the Fresno game and the Rutgers game when Rutgers was a group of 5 back then. Which one's the worst there, NC Nick?
I think it's Arkansas State. I mean, most of those teams.
That was the 40 players out. That was the 40 players out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because most of those teams, even if they're G5, they're good G5 teams. And then, I mean, FCS, but it's North Dakota State. So come on. So yeah, I think Arkansas State won. That's ugly. That's at home too. There's really no excuse for that.
Yeah, but there was no fans because of COVID, and there's 40. Still, yeah. You got to be.
You're in the Big 12.
Yeah. Wait, I got that. I got that clip here for you somewhere here.
It's Division I football. It's the Big 12. It ain't girls. You got 2 weeks after finals. You got a week of July 4th, and you got a week before camp starts. That's a month. That's probably more vacation than you guys get. And we're a little bummed out that we don't get 3 weeks. Go play intramurals, brother.
Classic Dan Hawkins. Yeah, that's there. Jumping in, I want to talk about the offense from a season ago, and they have their highest recruit ever at the quarterback spot, who's fully coming in here. But before I do all of that, I want to tell you that the college football experience, Kansas State Wildcats season preview episode, it's brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. They just launched their college football best ball product. Yes, we will have episodes talking about this. Just college football and best ball. Finally, it's about time. First place wins $20,000 too. Plus the higher or lower pick 'em. Pick 8 allows you an opportunity to win 325 times your entry. Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries as well. I can't wait to make my pick 8. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to take advantage of your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Look, going to college football games. That's everything, right? You could say, I feel like going to an NBA game or, going to an NFL game is like a corporate happy hour. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, why am I here? Well, I work over at Packard Bell. I know they don't exist, but you know what I mean? I work over at some company. Dating myself with fucking Packard Bell. You know what I mean? I work.
How about IBM?
There you go. IBM. And we got this deal. I don't even like this team now. Get that bullshit out of here. All right. College football is all about fans, traditions, history, and passion. It could be a tough look. There's been plenty of times where I was coming into town. I can tell you one example. I was in Stillwater randomly, and I wanted to catch Iowa State at Oklahoma State. And I just assumed that I'm going to be able to just go there and get a ticket as far as, just like scalp one right there. Damn, did I pay up, man. You don't want to know what I paid for a ticket to get into the Boone Pickens Stadium. There was about just a little shy of five hundos. So that backfired. My plan backfired. I wish I would have known about Game Time then, because Game Time is legit. As as they get inches closer and closer to Game Time, the prices go down. All right. Right now, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of MLB, Major League Baseball, with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat. That's always huge too. I've gone to a few baseball games where like I went through the website of the team, and you just like, oh, and they give you like a computer, like a video game look of like, hey, you're over by third base or something. And then you show up and there's like a fucking pillar there. Right. And you're like, where was this on the website? Well, don't worry. Game Time's got you covered for that. Views from your seat, an actual view from where the seat is, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and college football tickets. So what are you doing? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that redeeming code. And this is one you want to remember, CFBX, folks. CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we are back. Shout out to Disbanded. It says he works at Radio Shack. Love Radio Shack. Let's go. Let's take a look at this offense from a year ago. 10th in the nation in scoring per game. 37.1 points per game. Second best in the Big 12. 23rd in yards. Top 25 in scoring. Top 10 in scoring. Top 25 in yards. They were 53rd in passing. 11th in rushing. NC Nick, which one of those is your biggest, stands out to you the most?
I mean, it's all pretty solid, isn't it? They had a pretty good balanced approach. They were able to do some things on the ground, through the air. They had, a really good running back. They had, a very good tight end who's now in the NFL. This offense was moving the ball last year.
Yeah, and they did it with kind of two quarterbacks. They had, Will Howard, and I thought that was profound actually at Big 12 Media Day. In a way, Chris Klieman basically said, "Yeah, we told Will Howard he's got to, he should go." That's because
he has a record for most passing touchdowns for any Kansas State quarterback ever, and he's shown the door. Pretty interesting.
Well, that's because their biggest recruit ever. Forever. Avery Johnson. See, what you got to do is you got to make shots. Look, Avery Johnson, big time, they're really raving about this kid. He played a little bit last year and I was impressed too. Where are you at with that?
His ceiling is so much higher than Will Howard's. So obviously that's why they did it. Howard, I think, would have been a fifth-year senior. He started at least a portion of 4 years, so very experienced. I'd say he's a rock-solid quarterback, but he's had some down games. He had a couple down games last year. So I think getting now a sophomore Avery Johnson in there, his dual threat ability, he should become better as a passer as he gets more reps. I think Klieman thinks that this quarterback is really the kind of talent that could put you over the top. And while Will Howard is very solid, he's just not the same player.
Yeah, and obviously Ohio State thought differently. They said, "Hey, we want Will Howard. Let's go." But that tells you something too. Like, if Ohio State wanted, how good was this QB room then? You know what I mean? Like, to have both on your roster last year, pretty damn remarkable.
It's a gamble, though. What do you think? Do you think it's a gamble that's worth rolling the dice on?
I guess they were this day and age. I feel like you saw Dante Moore transfer after 1 year at UCLA, top 10 recruit, transfers to Oregon. I think if you're thinking about next year and the years coming, you start Avery Johnson, because I do think if had Will Howard came back, there was a slight chance that Avery Johnson could have transferred. So it's almost like, do you take your chance? Maybe, but I do think in a way it's a risky move because we've never seen this guy. They're gonna play some road environments that young quarterbacks struggle in tough road environments, man.
And look, his passing stats weren't great last year. He was only like 56% completion percentage. He did have 5 touchdowns, zero interceptions, which that's always really nice to see. A true freshman quarterback with 0 interceptions. And then he had over 300 yards rushing and kind of spot duty, played well in the bowl game. So it's a gamble. I don't know what the right answer is. I guess we're about to find out, but I think, this guy has a huge ceiling, lots of potential. Yeah, we talk about a little bit about DFS or fantasy college football. This guy could put up some crazy stats, with his arm and his legs.
Yeah, and Elliott bringing up a good point. Think about his QBs at North Dakota State with Easton Stick and Carson Wentz that he had. They all drafted really high. That's fair. That's a great point. Jumping over to the returning starters, I counted Avery Johnson. He probably didn't deserve to be listed as a returning starter, but he did get enough reps where I was like, okay, well, he got experience. DJ Giddens is back at the running back spot. I love like K-State football to me. Patty C always compares it to the Virginia Tech of the Big 12. He says K-State, like always great special teams, great defense, and physical rushing attack. Virginia Tech's kind of lost that luster in my opinion, but I see some comparisons back to when Beamer was at Virginia Tech there, but only returning 2 of 5 on the line of scrimmage. Is that a concern for you, NC Nick?
Well, in general, only 5 returning starters. And if you look at returning production on offense, 107th in the nation, only 47% of the production returns. So overall, not only that few returning starters is a concern, and the offensive line, I would say, is the biggest concern of any position group on the offensive side of the ball. Only 36 career starts in FBS football. So they got they got a guy or two in the portal, maybe. So youngsters coming up, but yes, the offensive line is a major concern.
Well, I can tell you this: they went out. Well, first they lost Will Howard, as we alluded to. They lost 4 quarterbacks. But once again, when you name Avery Johnson your starter, these guys rudely saying, "Hey, I want my chance. Let me go to the FCS." Will Howard saying, "Okay, I'll go to Ohio State." Trayshawn Ward was a running back that we were high on. Didn't really pan out the way we thought it would in Manhattan after coming over from Florida State. He now transfers out to Boston College.
He was solid last year, but Giddens just beat him out, So I think he still ran for maybe 500 or 600 last year. So I mean, Ward was solid, but he was definitely playing second fiddle to Giddens, so that made sense.
Yeah. Shout out to Austin Piper in the chat. He goes, "Don't forget Portier, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who Taylor Portier, who had a lot of experience at the guard spot. So maybe it's more than we think." Yes. But losing Colin Klein to Texas A&M, one of the reasons why I'm very bullish on Texas A&M is offensive coordinator Colin Klein. Go listen to our A&M preview. We were talking about how creative he gets. I loved it. A lot of his run packages, like very, very creative running techniques and schemes. Maybe that was Klieman influence. I'm not sure. Obviously Colin Klein's a legend at playing quarterback there in the Little Apple, but that is something also to note. Wesley Watson at wide receiver follows Colin Klein to Texas A&M. Tight end Christian Moore heads out to the run and rebs of UNLV. But they went out and gained. They were Taquan Roberson from UConn via Penn State. That's an interesting one. I could see him working in this offense if something did happen. I don't know what his health is at. I know he tore his ACL in that one. I think it was the first game of the season with UConn. But
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think for as far as depth wise, that's a great pickup. Because they can probably run a similar offense as Avery Johnson, and whenever you have a mobile quarterback, the likelihood of an injury goes up. So that was important to get, just to have some depth there.
Yeah. And the chat is talking about Andrew Langang from the portal. How come I didn't make a note of that? I don't know.
I was talking about the guy from North Dakota, Kilty, who was supposed to be a starter day one.
Yeah. And North Dakota was an FCS playoff team a year ago, the Fighting Hawks. Had a Dante Cephus from Penn State. I know Penn State would bitch about their receivers. I think some of that was on Aller. I don't think all of that was their wideouts. But the big one to me is Dylan Edwards.
Hold on. One more thing about Cephus. I mean, it was just a couple years ago at Kent State. He had over 1,200 receiving yards and 9 or 10 touchdowns. He did not look good at Penn State, but the whole passing offense didn't look good at Penn State last year. So I think there's a little bit of a diamond in rough there. I think Dante Cephus could be a lot better this year than he was last year.
Yeah, and to me, Dylan Edwards to go with Giddens. Dylan Edwards played Little League with Avery Johnson, so I mean, they've been. I imagine that was a big influence on Dylan Edwards coming over, but that was one that actually hurt Colorado. Colorado didn't lose a lot of players in the portal that really hurt them. Dylan Edwards was 4 touchdowns that opening game against TCU. Dude, he's so look. I have a bobblehead here of the great Darren Sproles, right at Kansas State. Shout out youtube.com/the college experience. Tell me, Dylan Edwards, you don't see a little bit. He's not as thick as Darren Sproles, but damn if he's not short and shifty. I love that get for Kansas State.
Oh, I mean, him and Giddens, that 1-2 punch, that's probably, you could argue that's probably the best 1-2 punch at running back in the whole Big 12. And the funny thing about Giddens too is that he's a pretty accomplished pass catcher as well. He had like 30 catches over 300 yards last year to go along with what he did on the ground. So yeah, those two running backs combined, and I mean, you got a hell of a backfield.
Yeah, it's all that O-line though. The only question mark I would say, let's go. Let's get that O-line going. Do you think the offense will be better with Matt Wells is running the offense, the former Utah State head coach and Texas Tech head coach, him and Connor Riley. Do you think that offense will be better than last year?
I don't know, man. Those numbers were pretty good last year, but you know, I you have a question mark at OC now because we have a different coordinator. You got a question mark on the O-line. I guess the only way they're better than last year is if Avery Johnson just balls out and is a crazy playmaker, which he has the potential of doing. But I think the Kansas State offense is going to be fine, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of those numbers slip a little bit.
Defensively, they were 26th in the nation scoring per game. 21 points per game given up, second in the Big 12. They were 57th in yards, third best in the Big 12, and they were 68th in passing, sixth best in the Big 12 out of 14 teams, and then third against the run in the Big 12, just giving up 147.5 per game. Can the defense improve? Can they or stay in that same range? They returned 7 starters on the defensive side of the ball. They also bring back their kicker, Chris Tennant. Close games, you never know. But returning 2 on the defensive line of scrimmage with Brendan Mott and Uso Samalu. Also linebackers Austin Moore, Desmond Purnell back. They did lose Kobe Savage, who was a very good defensive back for them, to the Oregon Ducks. But Jacob Parrish, VJ Payne, Marquise Sigel back. NC Nick, what do you make of this defense?
Oh, I think they're loaded. I mean, so I mentioned the returning production on offense was in the hundreds. Well, on defense, they returned 79% of the production, which is 12th best in the country. It was a solid and above average defense a season ago, and I think even if the offense is not quite as good as last year, the defense should be improved. So yeah, I think this defense is ready to roll. Earlier, I saw someone in the chat saying like, what teams in the Big 12 are going to have the best defenses other than Utah? And
Iowa State's really good.
Yeah, but I think Kansas State is right in that mix too.
Fair. Look, folks, before we talk about what they did defensively in the portal, want to tell you that the college football experience Kansas State Wildcat preview is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're not checking out the AI picks and props from Rhythm, you're missing out. They dominated the British Open this past weekend, and their college football product is about to drop. You can customize your own betting models easily using Rhythm's tools. So claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, I was just out for Mountain West Media Days. I was staying at the Circa. They held their Mountain West Media Days at the Circa. Dude, if you haven't been to Circa, you got to get out to Circa, the best sports book in the world. They got Stadium Swim. It's just fantastic. And let me tell you, what makes it even more fantastic is Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll feel if you win your office pool over there at Packard Bell or Radio Shack, right? But you didn't enter the Circa Survivor, right? Maybe you win what, $300, some tickets to see Garth Brooks or some shit. You know what I mean? You're gonna wish you submitted to get You would have got $16 million. Are you kidding me? And of course, Derek Stevens, the owner of Circa, hell of a good guy. The Circa contests have no rake. All right. If you don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas, may I recommend it, because you want to get there before football season kicks off. Ultimate Contest Weekend is a fine weekend to go out. If so, you go out, you can hang with Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd to August 24th. And you do want to sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th. Like I said, that's when the season kicks for the NFL. You want to get in. You could use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. Shout out to the chat. We're still talking K-State here. Keenan Garber got some starts at the cornerback spot. High on him. I love having these passionate K-State football fans in here. Kansas State is they're exactly like when I talk about why college football is incredible. It's like teams like Kansas State, man. You know what I mean? Great fan base. Just I love it. Like I'm so excited about them potentially, like them or Iowa or some of these other great fan bases of potentially hosting a playoff game. I just think
if you recall, if I cut you off, when we went to Austin to go see Kansas State at Texas, I mean, it was a great game. We had a blast, but we kind of ended up hanging out more with the K-State fans.
By far.
I don't know, we just thought they were just cooler, and they were getting hammered, and they were very welcoming and friendly, and we started hanging out with them more so than the Texas fans. I mean, look, we don't like Texas, but we kind of went into that game. We picked a kind of a random game with not really having a dog in the fight, even though I think we were both secretly rooting for K-State. But I mean, great fan base.
Great fan base. That was that night I told Matthew McConaughey he's a piece of shit, right? I was I was a little drunk.
Threw a beer in his face.
I kind of like Matthew McConaughey, all right?
I mean, he's cool other than his allegiance to Texas. That's his only.
Yeah, that's true. That's his shortcomings. No one's perfect. The defense, 7 returning starters, maybe 8 if you listen to the chat. And it's hard to judge returning production based on starts these days. But okay, fuck. I think I fucked this one up as far as that. They added some guys on the defensive side of the ball. Travis Bates from Austin P coming in. One of the governors, Alex Marenko coming in from New Mexico, who actually balled out at New Mexico. Jordan Dunbar, a corner from the Rice Owls, who was pretty damn good for them last year. Also Jordan Riley from Ball State and Quentin Rice, a corner from BYU. And as the chat continues to mention, Elliot saying Malcolm Alcorn Crowder, defensive tackle is a community college prospect. There we go. That Bill Snyder always did that before. Took advantage of the JUCOs.
Oh, the JUCOs, big time.
Got to do that. That helped kickstart this program. But
he also wouldn't let his players transfer anywhere. But I guess to your McConaughey point, nobody's perfect.
It's true. Back then it was a different game. Bobby Knight didn't do that shit either, man. Bobby Knight was like, look, I love Bill Snyder. That one, I think he might have been in the wrong with.
Once you're in, you're never out. You never
no. You committed, son of a bitch. Look, you committed. But coach, there's nothing out here. I mean, the fans are great, but God damn it, this is a lot different than Miami, Florida. Well, yeah, but you're staying here. All right. You better like it here.
He's like the mob guy in A Bronx Tale. He shuts the door, locks it. He goes, now you can't leave.
Shout out to Bill Snyder, though. I mean, that was the way back in the day. A lot of coaches did that shit, though, man. Like I said, Bobby Knight was notorious for that. Bobby Bowden, he would let some players transfer, but get this, that it would have to be in the Pacific time zone. So like your kid, you're sitting there, if you're like Lawrence Dawsey or some old Florida State Seminole, you're sitting there like, well, fuck, I don't know any of those coaches over there. Who the hell am I supposed to? San Jose State? What? Well, true. It was a different game back then. You could be more of an asshole.
You gotta be 3 time zones away.
I'll let you transfer some, but only in the Pacific time zone. Back then, you didn't have the internet.
Well, And nowadays that could be all within the Big Ten, so I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
But back then, like, you had to actually like go get an atlas, find out where the Pacific fucking time zone actually started. You're like, what schools are, and regional. All the games are regional. I remember growing up in DC, we'd get like the Maryland Wake Forest game over the Red River Shootout because so you're just sitting there saying, where the hell's Fresno? Hilarious times. Anyway, do you think the defense will be better this year, NC Nick? I think it has a chance to, because another thing is Texas and Oklahoma are gone. Two high-powered offenses, not on the schedule. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're loaded defensively, and like I said, if the offense slips up a little bit, the defense is there ready to improve. So I think they can have a very similar year to what they had last year.
Well, the number is 9.5 wins. Woo. Bold. To win the Big 12 championship, they're plus 380. You better move than the 9.5. To make the 12-team playoff, plus 250. Here's what I don't understand that. If they win the Big 12 championship, they're going to the playoffs. So why not just take the 380?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a scenario where they lose in the Big 12 championship game and they can still make the playoffs. But I'm worried that the Big 12 and the ACC might only get one team in this year.
You cut out here.
What'd you hear last?
I don't got you anymore. Chat, do you hear Nick? Anyway, they're plus 7,000 to win the national championship. I don't know. I think we lost his audio. Oh, we lost the connection. There we go. There's that. He's got to be staying at the Econo Lodge. He's got to be somewhere. There we go. Somewhere cheap. Doubletree. Doubletree's actually not that bad though. NC Nick back just like that.
Road games are hard, man. It's hard to win on the road in college football. So our apologies. Where do we leave off?
How many days are you at that Econo Lodge?
A couple. I'll be back home for the Wednesday night show. Don't worry.
Collecting your points, I see. But 9.5 is the win total. And look, this one is it's interesting because where the hell did I put this? The juice on this thing is plus 125 to the over, minus 145 to the under. So Vegas basically saying they think they're a 9-3 football team. What's your first thoughts on that, NC Nick?
Well, I would say they went 8-4 last year, but last year, I mean, all 4 losses were brutal. I mean, they could have easily won any of those other losses and been a 9 or 10 win team. I would think they're probably a 9 or 10 win team this year, but Kansas State hasn't hit 10 regular season wins too often in their history. You got to go back to 2012, the last time they had
Colin Klein.
Yeah, where they had over 10 wins in the regular season. So I would lean under. I think K-State's going to be very good this year, but my guess would probably be 9-3.
Yeah, I think the thing right there that jumps out is why even take a shot on the win total when you could just play the plus 380 to win the Big 12 championship. They won the Big 12 championship 2 years ago.
That is not bad at all. I think that's a decent play there.
Yeah. The schedule, week 1, you get FCS playoff team. Wait, last year or the year before? I can't remember. The UT Martin, what are they? Skyhawks. All right.
They were 8-3 last year. So I think I think it was the year before where they might've made the playoffs.
Yeah. Shout out to the Skyhawks.
I want this pilot. It's a matter of national security.
It is a matter of national security that Kansas State beats the shit out of UT Martin, and they will be 1-0. NC Nick, you agree?
Yep. Completely.
Then a little trip to the Big Easy, New Orleans. Look, they lost to Tulane in Manhattan with Michael Pratt and Willie Fritz. You know, I kind of thought Tulane was going to fall off after doing. I haven't previewed Tulane yet, but I did a little bit of a deep dive. They returned the backup quarterback who played well. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Not Pratt, but
right.
Is it Kai something? But they also brought in Ty Thompson, the Oregon backup from a year ago, and Brought in Mario Williams, who was a 5-star wideout that balled out at Oklahoma, who just kind of struggled at USC last year. That's a fun game. That's an underrated game. Now, I don't know how fast Summerall can get a hold of it, but I do think that roster is more talented than I thought. I know a lot of guys transferred with Fritz to Houston, but then when I saw some of the guys that came in, I go, all right, maybe Tulane.
You always tip your cap. You always tip your cap to P4 teams, because it's really just the Big 12 and the ACC who will go on the road to face a G5 opponent. So this is a tough game here, but I think K-State gets it done. They get revenge from a couple years ago.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
I agree. 2-0. Then they're hosting Brent Brennan. You got to like the fact you're getting 2 brand new coaches in the first 3 weeks. With their programs. Brent Brennan, Arizona, Noah Fafita, Tetaroa McMillan. But look, I think Arizona's going to get smacked here. Going into the Little Apple Friday night, nationally televised. I got K-State 3-0. How about you?
Definitely, dude. I was riding K-State at home last year. K-State was, I think their overall ATS record at home was 6-1. Their one ATS loss, and actually their one home loss, was the last game of the year versus Iowa State. But for most of the season, they were just steamrolling teams at home. And I know I called on to that pretty early in the season, and I just, every time K-State was at home, lay the points. You know, they're so hard to beat there. Arizona's not ready for that. I think K-State starts 3-0.
Yeah. And this, I find this one tricky. They're going to Provo. Week 4. I find this game tricky, man. I kind of think this could be an L. I'm going to say this. He's 1-4 against Oklahoma State, Chris Klieman. I think they're going to get Oklahoma State this year, but I think BYU is going to catch him. I got him 4-1 heading into the first bye week.
I actually completely agree with you. I know BYU was just 5-7 last year, but of those 7 losses, only 2 were at home. They had some close losses against like Oklahoma late in the year in Provo.
And Oklahoma State. Yeah.
It's a tough place to play. I do think BYU gets him this year. And I agree with you, though. Back at home, though, after the loss, they get the revenge of losing to OK State last year. Last year, they lost that turnover battle 3-0. All 3 interceptions thrown by Will Howard last year. So I like K-State to bounce back from the BYU loss, beat Oklahoma State 4-1 going into the first bye.
And they come out of the bye. They go to Folsom Field to take on Deion Sanders in prime time at the Colorado Buffaloes. Love this game back on the schedule. They played for a long time, and if college football feels right when these are playing. But we did the Colorado preview. Go listen to it. We do think Colorado is better than what the market says right now. However, we have K-State winning this game in Boulder, correct?
Yes, we did have K-State winning in Boulder. I think it's a tough one here, but the fact that you get the bye week before it is nice for K-State, and they're just top to bottom a better team right now. Better coach too.
Yeah, for sure. Back to back away though, and I can feel the couch is burning from here right now. Buddy, they're going to be like top 15 going into Morgantown. I got Dub V knocking them off back to back away. I had that stat a couple years ago. I didn't do a deep dive on it this year, but it was like, I don't know, like the team, I forget the exact number, but it was basically like less than like 7% of teams would sweep both the back to back away, but specifically the second end of the back to back away was absolutely brutal.
Yeah, and just look at K-State's history there. They've lost 3 of the last 4 in Morgantown. We did not talk about this before the show, but I completely agree. I think they dropped this one to WVU.
So that would put them right there at 5-2, right?
Yep.
Then you got the Sunflower Showdown Halloween weekend. I like that game on Halloween. Like if you're gonna do Farmageddon to end your season. And by the way, what is this Farmageddon in Ireland bullshit? Absolutely ridiculous. Like flag on the fucking play here. What are we doing? The Kansas game's interesting, but it's in the Little Apple, man. I got K-State getting it done. fascinated by watching this game this year, especially if Daniels is healthy for the Jayhawks. But give me the Wildcats. Who are you taking there, NC Nick?
I'm about to make some enemies, and I apologize to all those fine K-State fans in the chat. I know you've won 15 straight against the Jayhawks. I know a lot of them in Manhattan have not been close at all. I just think for some reason Kansas is due. I have Kansas pulling off the upset.
Well, I don't get a brain, man.
Not me. However, the very next game is a true letdown spot. As one thing I can tell you, Willie Fritz is one of the more underrated coaches in America, in my opinion. He is the guy that coached Tulane to beating K-State in Manhattan. I think that's a slippery spot. I love to play underdogs as first year coaches when they get to November, because I feel like the team starts to get what they want. Give me the Jayhawks. Oh, sorry. Give me the Cougars in an upset the week after taking on the Jayhawks. So I think they win the Sunflower Showdown. Probably a crazy, awesome game. The next week they head into whatever that's like ECU TD ECU Stadium, some shit like that down there in Houston.
Some credit union.
Yeah. And the Cougs knock them off. How about that? Where are you going in this one?
No, I have K-State, coming back after the big loss, getting back on the winning side of things. Not to fast forward too far ahead, but I actually have K-State winning out from here on.
Yeah, me too. Well, Arizona State and Cincinnati in Manhattan should be fine. So they have a bye week after Houston.
Don't you love those two games, like kind of easier home games, and then going up against that big one in Ames?
Well, especially last year, and last year's game was fucking awesome. It was in like a blizzard. Well, not all, if you're a Kansas State fan, it wasn't awesome because you lost, but it was a fantastic watch. It was everything that college football should be. But I think revenge is on the mind of the Wildcats, and I think they're going to go into Ames, Jack Trice Stadium, and get that dub. And that has me at what? Losses to BYU, West Virginia, and Houston, 9-3. I'm on the under, but like I said, don't worry. Don't worry, K-State, because I think you play that plus 380 to win the Big 12 championship. I mean, there's a solid chance that you have 3 losses for both teams in the Big 12 championship. And by the way, we should note that Arizona game is a non-con game.
That's right. That's right. And so one more thing about the Iowa State game too, I wanted to mention before I forget. Iowa State, not only do I like K-State's kind of a 2 easier opponents leading up to it, Iowa State is at Utah the week before. So I think it's a really nice spot for Kansas State to exact revenge from last year. But ultimately, my record is the same as yours, 9-3, because I have them losing to BYU, West Virginia, and Kansas. But honestly, now that I say that, Kansas State is better than those 3 schools that I mentioned. You like the schedule this year because they don't play Utah and they get OK State and Kansas at home. And those 3 teams, along with themselves, is the top 4 teams, at least projected, in the Big 12. So the schedule here is not bad. Is challenging in places, but the fact that I have them at 9-3 and losing to 3 inferior teams, that could be promising for K-State fans who says maybe they're saying we don't know what the hell we're talking about. We're definitely winning 10.
Fair, but I could also say Oklahoma State has won 4 of 5 against Klieman, so we could take Oklahoma State to win in the Little Apple. Right.
I think maybe we both agree on this. I think we agree that there's going to be some carnage in the Big 12, and I don't know if we're going to have any teams that are 10-2. I think you might be saying
it wouldn't shock me if they went 10. Like honestly, like. What games will they be dogs in? Probably just the Dub V game, right? Maybe Iowa State.
Dude, if they are 6-1 coming into that WV game, they're probably favored by 3 or 4.
True, but I think Dub V will probably have a winning record too.
There is a decent chance that they are not a dog at all.
Fair.
I mean,
Fair.
within the conference, the only team with better odds to win the Big 12 is Utah. They don't play Utah, and they're out of conference. While it's definitely not like an easy out of conference because it's UTM at Tulane and Arizona, Kansas State's going to be favored against those three teams. So you could argue that they might be favored at every game on their schedule, which is why the possibility of a 10-win season or 11-win season is certainly there. I just think the Big 12 is too even, and the question marks at O-line, at OC, and arguably at quarterback are a little too much for me to go with an over here. I'm on the under.
Yeah, my thing is like a young quarterback on the road. All right. Yeoman Stadium will be rocking for that one. Even though Tulane is, to me, it's the other spots. BYU, Lavelle Edwards Stadium is fucking legit as a home edge. Even Boulder, Folsom Field, will be rocking for that. And West Virginia, dude, and Iowa State and Houston too. So like, there's enough. Houston is probably the weakest home environment out of all of those. Definitely, I think. But I expect all those places to be rocking with a top 25 Kansas State coming to town.
Yeah.
So
and Austin Piper in the chat, who might be a little biased, he says 11-1. Let me ask you. It
could happen.
So let's say Austin is right. It certainly could. Let's say Austin is right. They go 11-1, but lose in the Big 12 championship game. Do they get the invite to the playoff?
They better. Yes. But it depends. Like if you're going to put a 9-3 Big 10 or SEC team in over an 11-2 Kansas State team, that basically
this is what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the college football playoff, but if it's all SEC and Big 10 teams, I'll be disappointed because I think the Big 12 deserves a second, the ACC deserves a second, and it would be a damn shame if they had such a great regular season and say they come up like a field goal short to Utah in the Big 12 championship game. They better get in. I hope the playoff committee doesn't screw us and just load up on all these 9-3 Ole Miss type teams.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. 11-1 and you lose I think it would be ridiculous because the floor in the Big 12 is higher than the floor in the other conferences. There's no truly shitty team. You know what I mean?
And that could be a scenario where the conference championship game hurts somebody.
That's true. I think that's going to start to play a factor with this 12-team model. I'm on the under, but I still think like they're probably going to win.
I'm not
them versus Utah.
This is
no. You bet the Big 12 championship, but that
you can do.
If they're playing Utah though, man. Like I kind of think I would favor Utah slightly because Cam Rising's been in college for 75 years, but yeah, gonna be fascinating.
It'd be a hell of a game. But even though one more thing, even though we're both on the under, I'm not betting the under. This is not going to be on one of my locks.
Oh
no way.
Yeah, agreed. Because they could easily. Well, let's talk about this. Like we said that they could win every single game on their schedule. So like the ceiling is 12-0. What's the floor? 7-5.
Yeah. If Avery Johnson isn't quite ready, if he's not quite as good as a lot of people are expecting, if the O-line struggles, again, it's not like K-State has like that much more talent than some of these other Big 12 teams. So I think a floor, I think that's fair. Floor 7-5.
I mean, could you even say 6-6? Probably not, right?
I find that hard to believe here. I mean,
like what if Arizona upsets them, Fafita, McMillan, then they lose to BYU and then Oklahoma State and all of a sudden they're 2-3. Then West Virginia, like we said, or Kansas, like you said, that could be 5, and then Iowa State 6.
I mean, I guess
right?
Yeah, there's no way in hell they're not bowling. I know Robert Martin agrees with you. He's saying 6-6 is the floor. I don't even know what we're arguing here. I think they're going to be at least 7-5, but in a crazy world, could they go 6-6? Sure.
Yeah, I'm on the under, but look, this is when I'm not betting, so I hope I'm wrong. I hope Kansas State goes 11-1 with their one loss being to the Buffs. But Look, I love this program. They're to me just college football done right. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. Would love to see Kansas State in the playoffs.
Is that Michael Bishop?
No, that's Darren Sproles, man. You a Sproles fan?
Oh yeah. Okay, there he is. Sorry, I couldn't see the number at first. I thought it was good old Michael Bishop, but yeah, Sproles was the baller.
Hell yeah, man. K-State always got those guys, man. What's the guy's name for the Cowboys right now? The small running back.
Deuce Vaughn.
He was a fun fucking watch in college. So shout out to Elliot who says, come out for a game, Colby. We want to. Me and NC Nick want to. We at some point we'll take you up on that.
Yeah, but they don't want me out there because I'm the Big 12 hater. You notice he said come out to a game, Colby.
That's true. That's true. He's talked a lot of slander. I don't think you can survive these. You're gonna.
I read between the lines.
Nick, they're gonna treat you like Bill Snyder when you come. Now you can't leave. All right.
Right.
Folks, give NC Nick a follow on Twitter. NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Remember, we're breaking down all 134 teams. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Check out all of our episodes. We've got the entire SEC done, the entire Mountain West done, coaching interviews from the Mountain West as well. Also, the entire Big 10 is out there, and most of the Big 12 already out there as we're plowing through these things. Next up, we got the ACC. So get in line, folks. Hop on over there. Check it all out. Also, check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Yes, myself and College Football Campus Tour, a.k.a. Michael Barker. We talk about the history of college football and the stadiums and what makes college football so damn awesome. Check out the Stadium Heads podcast. I think you'll dig it. We talk about Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Give it its respect. I think you'll dig it. Also, check out the FCS College Football Experience. You're going to want to know about UT Martin. All right. So check out that. Check out the College Basketball Experience. Jerome Tang doing a hell of a good job there in the Little Apple. So check out all those. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as well. And yeah, let's go. Until next time, folks. This is the College Football Experience, Kansas State Wildcat style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot.